people who tell me about their difficulties. It's very common. And I realize from hearing from them and also from my own life that the world is a difficult place. And many times the problems that they're facing, they're insurmountable. They can't get rid of them. Whether it be bad health, family problems, financial problems, social problems, mental problems, so many problems. So I try to respond to them with some sympathy and understanding because I understand it's difficult. And I try to share some instructions with them because I want to be able to help. So then I look at myself and the challenges that I face, and I start from there. So my first step is always to tell them that you must try much harder to take shelter of Krishna. And so often they reflect back to me how difficult it is to see the relevance of my suggestion during a time of need. They perhaps think that it's not practical, telling them take shelter of Krishna. No, I need something done. No, I need something else. I need a solution. So, can you all relate to that? That experience of feeling that take shelter of Krishna doesn't sound like a good solution to a problem? So, why is it so hard to take shelter of Krishna? Why is it so hard?
Probably we don't know the right way how to take shelter.
Don't know the right way how to do it. Yeah. What else? Why is it so hard?
Faith. Because we cannot face-to-face talk.
We cannot talk to him face to face.
Yes.
Good, good, good. This is a very good point too. What else? Yes.
We want things the way we want it to be, but the things won't go as we expect. So we cannot control if we think that we have to surrender fully.
So we want things the way we want things, and we're a little concerned that if we take shelter of Krishna, he might not want things the way we want them to be. And so we're a little hesitant. Does that sound familiar?
Attached to the outcome.
We're attached to the outcome. Any others? This is very good. All good points. What else? Again?
We get distracted by things that are meaningless.
We get distracted by things. So true.
Sometimes we don't get a right mentor or an association who can guide us to get surrendered to Lord Krishna whenever we are in a trouble, right? So we focus more on the trouble than a solution, right? So yeah, I mean, because of the lack of ignorance,
Yes.
we keep focusing on the problem.
So a lack of guidance
Yes.
causes us to focus only on the problem and not really any solution. And we get distracted. Excellent one. We all know about that. Anything else?
You don't know many solutions how they come to us.
We don't know how the solution might come to us.
Solution come to us.
How they come.
We
Yes?
don't know what exactly is taking shelter of Krishna, the real translation.
Ah, here's a good one. We don't exactly know what it means to take shelter of Krishna. Any more? This is very good. You see, when you read Bhagavad Gita, you should, when you start reading Bhagavad Gita chapter 1, you should immediately identify with Arjuna. You should listen to Arjuna's arguments very carefully, and you should ponder them, because these are the things that are our arguments, our fears, our doubts. So if we don't identify with Arjuna's doubts, we won't get the enlightenment that he received. So these are all very well said reasons. I wrote down a couple more. I said, he's too far away, and I'm not advanced enough, and it's not very easy. So do you see we have here a collection of reasons why we don't take shelter of Krishna. So I want to insist that it is both practical and essential if we ever want to find peace in our mind or in our life, and if we want to find happiness or comfort in our most difficult moments. So let us hear from Srila Prabhupada. He says, we must develop our love for God. If we love God, we love the root, the source. And then, and only then, we can love others. Otherwise, it's not possible. It is simply a waste of time. They have tried, Prabhupada says, they have tried. The so-called humanitarian work, the unity, the fraternity, and so on, they have tried. But because there is no love of God, they fail. Even the United Nations, they have failed because the central point is missing. So I will ask you another question. Why is it a waste of time to attempt to create unity if the central point is missing? Yes.
Because there are so many self-centers who have different visions and different opinions, and it's hard to unify all of them.
Very good. You know, if you were to take a handful of stones and you threw them one after another into the water, what would happen? What would you see? Sorry? Ripples. And what would those ripples look like? Splashing. Turbulent. Right? If I throw one, it starts a ripple. I throw another one, it starts another ripple. And that ripple affects this ripple. And I throw another one and it starts another ripple. And I throw another 5 and they start their own ripples. And the whole thing becomes very turbulent. So this is the reason why there are difficulties in the world. I could take the same handful of stones, the same handful, and throw them at one time together into the center, and you would see one ripple ripple out a very clear-cut, round, rippling effect from all those rocks, but they're all going to the same central point. So how do we strengthen the central point? I'm asking you so many questions.
Following the basic principles and association.
Following the basic principles and association.
Yeah.
You need one leader. Any other thoughts? What's that? Chanting. Chanting. Yes, all these are true. All these are correct. But I was thinking that you need to strengthen all of the people to strengthen the central point. Not just one leader should be strong. Not just I should have good chanting and the central point will be strong. But there needs to be a process of understanding of many people that this is the center point. And this is what Srila Prabhupada is saying. This understanding of what is the center point is missing in the world today. So Prabhupada says, when trying to make friendship with Krishna, we must try to understand his kindness. Sri Krishna is so kind that he patiently sits in the heart, trying to guide every one of us back home, back to Godhead. So he's not trying to guide one person to lead. He's trying to guide everyone, every single person. He's trying to guide you. He's trying to guide you. He's trying to guide every single person. No material friend would remain with his foolish companion for millions and millions of years, especially if his companion were to ignore him or even curse him. But Krishna is such a faithful, loving friend that he accompanies even the most demoniac living beings. And he's also there in the heart of a mosquito, in the heart of a dog, in the heart of a fish, and in the heart of a pig. He's there. Now, if this awakens for us, we're very fortunate, very specially fortunate. Because what happens is when the light goes on, we see the whole world differently. We see that Krishna is there in the heart of the most cruel person, along with being in the heart of the most great person who we all can see and respect. And this is what creates this unity. Only this. Krishna is in my heart, waiting to give me guidance, but he's also in everybody's heart. That is because Krishna is the supremely Krishna conscious one. He's Krishna conscious. And he sees every living being as part and parcel of himself. This is his view. He's not just looking at me, he's not just looking at my family, He's not just looking at my country. He's not just looking at me when I have a problem. He's seeing everyone. And he's trying to direct everyone back towards him. One should turn one's face to the Lord within one's heart and revive one's eternal loving relationship with one's real friend. So Srila Prabhupada took so much inconvenience, so much discomfort, so much trouble, so much strain to travel around the world at a late age. It wasn't for his amusement, it wasn't for his sightseeing, it wasn't for his interest, but it was to try to awaken in the hearts and minds of others that you have a real friend within you, and you must develop your love for that person if you want to avoid all the struggles and problems of life. So, Prabhupada is talking for people who are having a difficult time. But what about me? I have a very nice life. I'm very wealthy, comfortable, relaxed. Do I have to turn to him too? Everything is going nicely for me. And then I ask sometimes to someone, what would it take for you to activate serious Krishna consciousness? What would it take? Are you asking Krishna to smash you? To give you terrible trouble? To awaken your sense of urgency? You don't have to do it like that. You don't have to do that. But if you're stubborn and you refuse to hear from him, you refuse to get your life directed in the right way, then you might find terrible things happen as blessings to shake and awaken you. And if you see them as blessings, you might find yourself suddenly going very fast in understanding how Krishna is actually my friend. Prabhupada says, if we make our friendship with Krishna, it will never break. If we make Krishna our master, we will never be cheated. If we love Krishna as our son, he will never die. And if we love Krishna as our beloved, he will be the best of all, and there will be no separation. So Krishna is calling us. He's calling us. He's calling us if we have problems. He's calling us when we have no problem. He's calling us. He's saying, I'm with you. I want to guide you. I want you to listen to me. And give a chance for me to help you with all those reasons why I don't turn to you. Krishna is the real friend of everyone. And we are seeking friendship from so many people to improve our material condition. But we do not understand that the real friend is within everyone. The real friend is living in everybody's heart. Krishna. And if you take shelter of him, so what does taking shelter mean? He's living in my heart. If I take shelter of him, Prabhupada is saying, so I'm asking you, what does taking shelter mean? You can think what you have heard, what you have understood. What does taking shelter mean? What does taking shelter mean? It went like this, it's like putting up your hand.
Surrender.
Surrender. What does surrender mean?
Whatever we do, it's on his, like, we consider that he's making us do. So we say.
We consider that he's making us do. Not quite. Because then we feel like a robot. Right? He's moving me here, he's moving me there. I didn't have anything to do with it. I'm just being moved by him.
Like puppets.
Like a puppet. But we're not exactly like puppets. We have a whole initiative of our own. These are good points, but let's go a little deeper. What does surrender mean? What does taking shelter mean? Taking shelter. Yes?
To leave any maya, any form of material attachments in this world.
Taking shelter means to leave any form of maya or material attachments. Can you do it? No. That's a result of taking shelter. That's an outcome, yes.
Yeah, just like a small child lives under the shelter of parents, we should live like that.
We should live like a child lives under the shelter of parents. This is a good point. Yes. Yes? Yes? Please.
Completely dependent upon Krishna in whatever situation he wants to keep us, we should accept and go with that.
Completely dependent on Krishna, and what he wants us to accept, we'll go with that. Do you want me to tell you what Prabhupada said taking shelter of Krishna is? All of your points are of course correct. Prabhupada says, taking shelter of him means simply hear about him. Hear about him. If you simply hear about Krishna, just like you are kindly hearing right now, if you simply hear about Krishna, then gradually the dirty things within your heart will become cleansed. Now, what are the dirty things?
Materialistic things.
Materialistic things, yes. Such as?
More about fame,
Fame, money, attachments. Yes. Yes.
Me and mine.
Me and mine. Well put. That was a good summary of everything. This is me, and these things here are mine. And that's what everyone is walking around in a daze. This is me, and these things are mine. And I'm not having any problems, so I don't need to take shelter of Krishna. And when problems arise, whoops, it's like an umbrella in a rainstorm. We go looking, where's that umbrella? Oh, Krishna, please, 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 help me, help me, help me. And then the rainstorm goes away and we say, oh, now I'm okay again. So now let me just get on with my life and doing all the things, all the attachments, all the me and mine. Let's continue. So Prabhupada is saying, no, hear about Krishna. Especially because so many of you are from India, in some form or another, either directly, indirectly, I don't know. But you have in your veins to understand these things. If you hear properly about Krishna, it's already part of your culture. It's part of what you have. But unfortunately, what's happening today in India is that everybody is pushing aside the old ideas. They're pushing away, pushing aside their own culture. They're decreasing their cultural understanding to mythology. Krishna is mythological. It's all Ramayana is mythology. It's just a movie on television. We make a cartoon. We don't hear about Krishna. We don't scientifically understand him, even though he's yours. You know, when I first came to Hong Kong with my husband, it was in 1970, and I had never met any Indian people. And I therefore thought, when I saw the first Indian, I thought, wow, these are holy people. These people are really, really, really religious people. And I'll tell you two things that actually occurred for me. One of them was that Srila Prabhupada came in 1974 here to Hong Kong, and my husband was going around seeking donations from the Indian community, who we knew well. And there was one gentleman, and he lived in Mirador Mansion. And all those who live in Mirador Mansion say, Jai! He lived in Mirador Mansion, and he was very pious, a very pious man. He had a really nice young daughter, and he had just had, although he was elderly, he had a baby son. So he was always a little bit kind towards us. So my husband went and asked him, please, could you give some donation? Srila Prabhupada is coming. We wanted him to stay at the Hong Kong Hilton, which is no longer. And so this gentleman, he said, I can give some money. And he gave my husband 200 Hong Kong dollars. Now we all know what 200 Hong Kong dollars is worth in Australian currency or American currency. It's practically speaking nothing. And so my husband was a little bit disappointed because he knew this was a good, pious man. And later he went back to him even because we had a shortage, and he requested him to please if he could give a little bit more. And he said, I'm living almost hand to mouth. We didn't understand what that meant yet. And so he said, okay. So he said, I'm very, very sorry, but I won't be able to help. 2 weeks after Srila Prabhupada left, there was a big robbery, and it was on the front page of the Hong Kong Herald. And what took place was some thieves managed to get into his apartment at night, and they took his little son, who was the treasure of the family, and they held a knife to the little boy's throat, and they demanded him to open up his safe. Now he was dealing with jewelry, and they took 40 million Hong Kong dollars worth of jewelry from that man. 40 million. And he couldn't give more than 20 American, 200 Hong Kong dollars, not even 20. So that was one lesson we learnt, that you can come from an Indian heritage, but if you don't know anything about Krishna, you don't know anything about truth, you don't know anything about what is real and what is not, then a disaster can come on your head. And are you ready for that? Do you want to have money taken away by force of thieves? Or do you want to serve Krishna with your income? And is it yours or is it his to begin with? How long are you here in this world? And how long can you claim whatever it is that you have? So this was one example. And I'll tell you another one. There used to be a shop on Hart Avenue called Monet. It was a tailoring shop, and they sold cloth and they did tailoring work. And it was run by a couple of Indians, I don't know where they were from. Their name was Hemrajani. And they worked in that place. And we didn't know them, they didn't know us. But one day, this was way before when we first came to Hong Kong, and we didn't have an established visa that we could stay long term in Hong Kong. And we were living in Chung King Mansion, which is a few steps down from Mirador Mansion. And in the evenings or the afternoons, we used to go to, I don't know whether it's called Wireless Hill. There was a hill just behind Chung King Mansion. And all the Indian boys and girls and children, after work, after school, they'd all go there and play. So we went there, my husband and I, and we used to sit there on a cement section, and we would have a kirtan, just with the mridanga and kartals. And these children were so simple in those days, because they didn't have all the modern, wonderful facilities that we now indulge our children in, that they would come and sit around us and they would sing with us. And we would sing and they would sing, and we would sing for half an hour, 20 minutes before they ran off to play again. So these two brothers, the Monet business, the younger one, his name was Ram Hemrajani, and he happened to be walking through that park, and he saw us sitting there and the children sitting there, and we were all chanting together. And Mr. Ram, as we called him from then on, he stood at a distance and he just looked at us very suspiciously. And we didn't really know what he was thinking or what he wanted to say. Until then he came over and he started, "This is not your culture. Become dedicated. We've given our lives to serving Krishna." And he listened to all our answers. And then he walked back with us to Chung King Mansion. And we were just about to leave him and enter into our room. And he said to my husband, he said, "Can I pay your rent for a couple of months?" Just out of the blue, he asked. And the fascinating thing was that we were in a situation at that time where we had no money. No money doesn't mean $5 or $10, or we had nothing. Just for a period of 2 weeks, because there was a complication in the transactions we were doing. And Mr. Ram paid our rent. Just naturally, he was generous. And from then after, that family, they supported us as we started to try to make the very first Hare Krishna temple in Cameron Road, 34 Cameron Road, on the first floor. It was an office space which had been roughly converted into a kitchen and bathroom added on. And he and his family helped us in so many ways. So you see, you can go one way or you can go the other way. And Krishna within your heart is listening. Whether you like it or not, he's listening to everything. He knows everything about us. He knows when we're going left, he knows when we're going right. And that can either be something that we don't like very much because we want him to mind his own business, or it can be such a special thing that he's traveling with me. He understands my situation. He knows why it is the way it is. And he can help me to remember him. And as Prabhupada says, taking shelter of him means simply hear about him. If we simply hear about Krishna, just like you are all kindly hearing right now. If you hear about him, then gradually all the dirty things, the attachments, everything else will be cleansed. So Prabhupada, over and over and over, he speaks about the process of hearing about Krishna. He says, our love for Krishna is now dormant. So what does dormant mean? Unactivated. Unactivated. It is within us, but because we have no information about Krishna, therefore we are reposing our love, our attachment to something which is frustration. It is not the object of love, and therefore we are frustrated. This is such an important point, to become a little bit thoughtful. Where is my frustration coming from? Is it coming from lack of money, lack of facility, lack of a good job? Or is it something deeper than that? Is it deeper than that? Is it a fact that if it's coming from money, facility, family, and so on, then when that thing is fixed, I should be full of happiness and calm and peaceful. But am I? No, I agree. I'm not either. No, there's another problem. There'll be another problem and another problem. Right? And another problem.
Dissatisfaction.
Dissatisfaction. Dissatisfaction even when you get your whole list fulfilled. Yes? Dissatisfaction when you get as much money as you always wanted. Dissatisfaction when your children grow up and become professionals. Still there's dissatisfaction. So because we want to become more thoughtful, we have to think on these things very carefully. Why is there dissatisfaction still in my heart? Prabhupada says, and if we love God, then we can love everything. We can love everything. And without loving God, you cannot love anything. You cannot love anyone. You cannot love anything. Because you see, there's a difference between love and attachment. Attachment means, this is my family, this is my house and car, these are all mine. I hold them very close to me. But love means that I serve them in connection with the value that they have. It's different. If you think of your children and think, I'm very attached to my children, you'll find there'll be a kind of a tightness in your heart. But if you can think of them as loving them, your heart relaxes and you become softened. So Prabhupada says, and without loving God, you cannot love. And therefore, practically, there is so much love between boys and girls, or men and women, and after 2 years or so, there's a divorce. There was a time when we were living in India in the 1980s, in Vrindavan, that you never saw a couple who were getting a divorce. It just didn't happen then. And one day I remember we were walking together with some friends, and there was a man and a woman seated just outside the Krishna Balaram temple, and they were seated, 2 men and 1 woman. And this lady whispered to me and she said, do you know what they're doing? And I said, no. And she said, they're getting a divorce. And we all went, oh. Can you imagine? There was a time when a divorce was seen as to be quite surprising. That wouldn't happen in India. And now today, So different, so common, so common. So Prabhupada says, after 2 years divorce, go to hell. Because there is no love, it is simply lust. Satisfy it as soon as you do not satisfy me. So, he said, then you separate from me and I separate from you. So basically, he's saying, there is no love.
That's a divorce.
Yes, exactly.
Can I add something? Like,
Please.
like what you're saying, like when you're saying like when you love Krishna and you hate others, it cannot happen.
Yeah, cannot work.
Everything is synchronized.
Yeah. Yes.
I think that's what it is. Like you have to love
Yeah.
Krishna, then you love
Yes.
yourself, and then you love
Yes.
everyone.
They'll flourish. Then that won't work.
It's not happening.
It's not happening. Yes. Well said. Yes. So we need to know these things. We need to keep them activated. Activated all the time. And this is why we need to hear. So now, Prabhupada gives an interesting example, because he's pointing out here divorce. So is divorce a result of love or is it a result of calm?
For different reasons.
Calm, yes. It's a result of... Yes.
What I'm saying is, years before, there was no such thing as, love marriage.
Yes.
It all used to be arranged marriage.
Yes.
Where I'm from India.
Yes.
Now what happens when a girl goes out with a boy? Till they are not married, the boy will even kill somebody for her, get her anything she wants. Once
Yes.
they are married, he won't give the same physical attention or
Yes.
those things to her. And
Yeah.
then she feels, no, this is the wrong guy for me. You're
Yes.
giving me so much. Why did I marry him?
Yeah.
I'll find another guy who will give me all these things. That's what's
Yeah.
happening now.
Yeah. That's what's happening.
Happening among Indians, 70-80% nowadays.
Yes.
Because I'm from India, I know everything about
Yes.
the Indian mentality. They are following, one mind was saying, they are following the Western culture. They hardly marry. They say, okay, 5 years together and then we find somebody else. Why should we marry? Yes, that's what's happening
Yes.
to our Indian people
Yes.
now, I'm noticing.
Yes. So this is what Srila Prabhupada is pointing out. That if you don't love Krishna, you don't have that center point in place, you can't really love anyone else. Even if you're pious and you're a good person, then you won't get a divorce, you will suffer. If there's turmoil, you will suffer. But unless you get the center point in place, you can't really love. It's not possible. Because you'll be thinking of yourself all the time as the center point. So what's good for me? And if what's good for me is not good for you, then there'll be some tension. Immediately there'll be tension. So Prabhupada says that prema or love and kama or passion are very different. What is the difference? Yes.
When we love someone, we serve him, and when we are in passion, we expect something from others whom we love.
When we love somebody, our interest is how to make them happy.
I think when you love someone, there is no condition.
Yes, when you genuinely love somebody, there's no condition.
It's love is love. That's
Yes. And when you are just enjoying their company, that's passion, then it's driven by what I want, what I'm getting from it. So they have different qualities. And as we heard, in the Indian culture is becoming rapidly corroded away by selfish materialistic values. Now, what Prabhupada does here is he's going to tell us how it is that we can love Krishna and still work in the world, using the example of lust. He says, one who has developed attachment to Krishna is Krishna conscious. And here is an example. So, they say if you have attachment to your lover, you will always think of her. This is called lover consciousness. It is natural. It is stated that a woman who has another lover besides her husband, she shows herself to be very attentive to her household duties. And why is she very attentive to her household duties?
Like someone should not know that I'm in love with someone else.
Yeah, she's hiding something, right? So she shows herself to be very attentive to her household duties, but inside she is always thinking. What is she thinking? Yes, she's thinking, when will I meet my lover tonight? Inside she's thinking, when will I meet my lover tonight? And outside she is thinking, I'm protecting this, it's secret, and so I'm doing all my duties in the world very nicely, so no one will know that inside I'm thinking, when will I meet my lover tonight? Prabhupada says, if we love somebody, now this is lust, but if we love somebody, it is possible, in spite of all our other engagements, to think of that person always. If materially it is possible, he's giving the example, if that's possible, then why not spiritually? That is the whole teachings of Bhagavad Gita. So just see, he's taking something that we understand as a great misfortune and a degradation of human society, and he's pointing at it and saying, you can learn something from that. You can learn something from everything if you want to learn how to love Krishna. Krishna says, I am seated in everybody's heart. And from me, he says, from me comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. So when we find ourselves not so interested in Krishna, when we find ourselves too busy, when we find ourselves interested in other things, we should understand that He is responding to us. He never doesn't know what we want, and He is responding to our desire. So our whole life is situated on our desire, not on His desire. Krishna will not interfere with your independence. If you say, I want to ruin my life, He will let you do it. Not because He's cruel, not because He wants to see you suffer, not at all like that. But you cannot love Him unless you have the freedom of choice to say, actually, no, I don't want to ruin my life, I want to hear about you. I want to develop my relationship from within with you. That's what I want. And then he becomes so happy, like this very dear friend. And we can go about our work in the world, doing everything very nicely, because we're thinking on the inside, when can I get to chant again? When can I go to the temple? When can I see Srila Prabhupada? When can I sneak away when nobody's noticing and be with Krishna? We don't have to upset our life, change our life. We have to learn from hearing about Krishna that He's our dear friend. Then we have to apply ourselves to learning to love Him. So Prabhupada says, because we are who we are, he says, so a little endeavor is sufficient to begin our business with Him. Little endeavor, not very much hard work. No. So what is that? What is that little endeavor that we have to make? Yes, Prabhupada says, excellent, you're such a good class of listeners. He says, please come here and hear about Krishna. This is the little endeavor. Because Krishna is very much anxious. Krishna is very anxious. he is saying, when will this conditioned soul, this lost soul, when will he look towards me? Our love for Krishna is now dormant. Dormant means? Unactivated. It is within us, but because we have no information of Krishna, therefore we are reposing our love to something which is not a suitable object of love. And therefore we are frustrated. So this is the wonderful message that Srila Prabhupada travelled around the world speaking like this. He says this frustration is removed gradually as we turn to Krishna as the one who is supposed to supply our needs. So that doesn't mean turning to Krishna and saying, here's my list. Can you take care of this, that, and that? And then I'll be very happy, and perhaps I'll have some time and I'll put in hearing something, thank you. It's not like that. He is the one who loves us and is ever inviting us to come towards his shelter, even when we are disturbed. And otherwise we think that there is no loving person in the world, and then we turn to love our house, our money, our job, our travels, our television, our computer, our phone. That's because there is no love being given to Krishna. So I must love somebody. If I learn to love Krishna, then I can perfectly love everyone. So thank you. I feel honored to be here with you all, and it's so nice, it's so enlivening to hear your reciprocation, your thoughtfulness, and it's a very, very important message. And I remember when Srila Prabhupada came here the first time to Hong Kong, I wasn't here, but he gave he had a meeting in the Park Hotel, which was just nearby in Kowloon. And he spoke very encouragingly to all the Indian community members who came. And he spoke about, actually, Subhash Chandra Bose and his overseas Indian army. And my husband was telling me later, he said, I was thinking, why is he talking about this? He said, then I began to understand that Srila Prabhupada was looking at the Indians of Hong Kong as his overseas Indian army, who are meant to bring something up so that the people of the world who are going down on the down elevator, they have an opportunity to see something of fine character, something of strength, something that they themselves can relate to and feel like that's really nice. So our Hong Kong temple has been going for so many years with a mixture of Chinese folk, Indian folk, and Westerners. So I think that is the example of the United Nations in the spiritual world. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Does anyone have any questions?
Mataji, when is your next visit is planned?
Sorry?
When your next visit is planned?
When is my next visit planned? At the very latest, this time next year. Yes.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
It's like loving Krishna. It is the grace of Krishna first, and we should endeavor to love Krishna. We should try, we should make efforts.
Can you ask that again?
making endeavor to love Krishna.
Yes.
It is a grace from Krishna that we are making endeavor to love Krishna.
Well, it's mysterious, really. It is some grace from Krishna, definitely. But then we would ask, well, why does Krishna give that grace? That's also a very interesting question. Why is he giving me grace that's causing me to feel like I want to learn to love him? And the answer is there has to be something in us to attract that grace. And sometimes, as I was saying in the beginning, that something in us is a yearning that's produced from a terrible difficulty. Right? Something horrible happens. Srila Prabhupada, when he was working as a family man, one of his factories went bankrupt, another one was destroyed by fire, and he saw that these difficulties that were piling up in his life were the grace of Krishna. So we have to see everything as the grace of Krishna to get the balance right, the good and the bad, and also the desire to hear about him. Yes, and it also depends on you. If he sees this person has some possibility of coming closer to me, then his grace is given. Hare Krishna. Any other good questions? Such a good group of strong people.
Mataji, I want to share
Yes.
that I love how you explain the mechanism of how to love Krishna. Because like I like to hear how you mention about the details, like all the mechanism, all the details. I love it very much.
That's because you love Prabhupada. Because I took some time and read from him, heard from him, and cut and pasted some pieces onto one Word document, and therefore you're hearing directly from him. You should love him, he's wonderful. Yes. Any other points, questions? Yes.
Mataji, you're telling us about reminding us to take shelter of Krishna. But our experience in this world is that when we quote unquote take shelter of somebody here, we are always disappointed. And so we don't have that trust.
Yes.
We lose that trust. We find it very difficult to take shelter. And
Yes.
and then it translates into taking, when we try to take shelter of Krishna, we feel the same thing. Will I be betrayed? We don't have that full trust.
Maybe he won't take care of me.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not a good person.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not worthy.
Yes.
But that's why Srila Prabhupada mentioned that. Taking shelter means hear about him. It doesn't mean give up everything to him. It means hear about him. Educate yourself very carefully. Who is he? Why should I not think like that? So that's the first thing that I find when I'm having a difficult moment, and they come very regularly, of course, for all of us. The first thing I always try and do, and it's not always immediately effective, is start reading something, trying to find a clue, somewhere where my mind will focus on something to do with Krishna that I can hold on to instead of my perception of reality, which is very fearful maybe, or very untrusting, or very self-important. So that effort has to be there by us. We get the blessings. We mentioned this. There is a blessing involved that prompts us from within. It's like Krishna is saying, turn left, turn right. But if we're not activated, that, yes, I have to take shelter of Krishna right now, I don't know what to do. Or I do know what to do, I have to take shelter of him. If we're not practicing that, like a limb, we don't use it anymore, then it becomes stiff like a frozen shoulder and you can't use it at all. So that's our responsibility. Chanting is very, very, very vital. Yes.
So my 2 cents are like that. You're talking about activation, you chant, it activates. Like that's the mechanism
You have personal experience of this?
I believe in it, I feel it, and I have experience of it. Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. So you see, when you have personal experience, you see you have more strength.
100%.
If I said to you, you have experience of this, and you said, well, I have read it in different places, we'd go, okay, thank you.
I
But
feel it, I believe in it, I experience it.
wonderful, wonderful. So let's all move forward in some way. Any other points? Yes.
Mataji,
Yeah.
so right now, according to the Hindu calendar,
Yes.
we are currently in the worst time.
Yes.
Essentially,
Yes.
the worst time
Yes.
where every form of dharma, sanat,
Yes.
is practically impossible to follow.
Yes.
So, in such a time where, for example, even if we sit down to pray to God, it's very possible we might just get a phone call
Yes.
telling us about our work.
Yes.
Just trying to pull us away from absolute devotion.
Yes.
So how do you think we can counter this, or at least in a way still show our absolute devotion? In a world where we are constantly being distracted and being pulled away.
Yes. Well, some discipline has to be there. That's a fact. The other thing that always strikes me is that it's so hard. The materialism is so intense, and it's so demanding on everybody's lives. Their energy, they have to be something, be somewhere, be all the time. They need money, they need this, they need that. They've got to educate their children to grow up into this world where they have to have money, they have to have this, and they do have to have it. So there's a grinding machine that's going on. And in one sense, that's always been there, in some form. Even pious people who lived off the land, who were very moral, who were very fixed up, they also had to obey the calendars of the seasons and so many different things. So it's not that there's never been distractions in life before. There's always been some. But in this age, it's made of distractions. And the problem is we have to become a little smart. Every single thing that's offered to us technologically, the latest this, the latest that, the latest this, it's simply somebody making money from you. So you can't be like a stupid person who says, oh, I need the latest phone now. Oh, I need the latest computer now. I need the latest. I need the latest. If you're going to run on that track, then it's going to be very hard to find Krishna in your life.
If you believe, I think believe and achieve. If you believe in it 100%, you will achieve it.
Yes. Yes.
Self-discipline.
Yes.
Believe that. Believe has to be 100%.
That's belief we use. You know, sometimes some people, they define between belief and faith. The word Shraddha means faith. Faith has to be there. I have to become convinced. But belief has a different context. Belief means I believe. I believe the world is flat. I believe...
You believe in Krishna consciousness, you believe in Him, so even whatever distractions you have, you'll
Yes.
not distract you.
Yes, correct.
You'll achieve what you want.
Yeah. But the faith that Krishna is going to take care of me, the faith that Krishna will take care of me, that's built by experience. So if you're not going to put the time into trying to test the waters, then they'll always remain a little weak in your mind. Maybe I can do it, but maybe it's too hard. So there's a challenge on us that you must try, do your effort, whatever it may be. And the other thing that Srila Prabhupada would point out was that in more tranquil times when people were very good and pious and religious and peaceful, then the process of advancing spiritually was equally made harder because they had more capacity. And he says that in Kali Yuga, because it's so serious, the epidemic proportions of materialism that's just growing and mounting. Therefore the process and Krishna's kindness towards us has to be made immediate. Like in an epidemic, you have to make the medicine available to everyone and very quickly. So the chanting works. The chanting works. It's not magic. You can't just take it like a pill. It's Krishna's name. But it builds up a sense of faith, trust that Krishna is real. And that's what we really need. Yes?
Mataji, if you're saying that if that belief or faith, when it's there, are we waiting for any results? I think, we don't want any results. If that faith and belief is there, then you said the results will come.
The results will come, but sometimes we do need a result.
I think when faith and belief is there, we don't need any result. There's no condition again.
It's not so much a condition, it's the fact that we're living in this world and one person or another needs help at a particular time. So in general speaking, we say, yes, Krishna will take care of that. I don't need to tell him anything. He'll take care of me. But in particular situations, we may be feeling quite desperate. What do we do with our desperation?
So if we don't get any help, we should stop believing.
We should stop believing?
Like if let's say there's a condition or situation where we need some help, and unfortunately no help's come, we don't see any help. So what we should do in that situation?
We should see that as Krishna's mercy, because we already know.
That's what I'm saying. Like there is no condition.
That's true, but it's not a condition. It's a conditioning. It's not a condition. If you don't come, I don't believe in you. It's, I don't know what to do right now. Please, you have to help me.
Okay.
And Krishna comes for that.
And that's Krishna's mercy.
That's Krishna's mercy. Yeah. So therefore, some of the difficulties that you face in trying to concentrate, that's a form of Krishna's mercy, if you see it in the right way. He's pushing you. Try and work out some discipline in your circumstance. Yeah? Hare Krishna. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.